Yes, yes. I am a man of my word. When I am right, great. When I'm wrong, I step up to the plate. Okay? And I'm going to eat my words in this video on a specific player that has been making great strides, really turned around. Didn't think it was going to happen, and how excited I am for this player. And we're going to be talking about um, what's in store for us, Sunday's games, the NFC, the bearing enemy waiting for the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs, what everything looks like right now. And we're going to be going over, obviously, Saquon Barkley probably not going to get the MVP this year for one specific reason. And yeah, let's get straight into it all. Look at these results. People are making free money. They're making thousands every month betting on sports completely risk-free. The secret, they're using OddsJam. OddsJam isn't just another betting app. It's turned the entire system in your favor. Here's how. OddsJam uses a strategy called arbitrage, finding odds differences across sports books. You bet both sides, and no matter the outcome, you will profit. Here's an example. If you put $500 on Boise State to win on FanDuel and $335 on their opponent, San Francisco, on DraftKings, you'll guaranteed to make $50, win or lose. It's that simple. With the OddsJam mobile app, you'll get real-time alerts on these opportunities every day. People are making thousands monthly. And to get you started, use code Joey for 35% off and a 7-day free trial. I guarantee you'll profit during the trial, and if you don't, cancel with one click. No questions asked. Don't leave money on the table. Go to oddsjam.com, use code Joey, and start making money the smart way. All right, guys. Well, we have a lot to discuss today. I think the number one thing we're going to talk about is really owning up to things, okay? Because that's what I have to do sometimes because I'm not always right. I'm just a fan just like you guys that are watching. But, I'm not always right. Probably wrong a lot of times. I like to speculate. I like to, think of things that could happen, maybe things that will not happen. But when it comes to specific players, their production, and I think one player we got to talk about is Nolan Smith, man. It's been a big turnaround. Okay, 3.5 sacks for the year. Really, since the bye, I think Nolan Smith has really turned up. His pressures have been there. His sack numbers are getting there. He's catching his stride. It comes down to coaching. And trust me, because last year I didn't really blame everything on Nolan Smith last year. I say, hey, this player's not doing anything, not because it's his fault, because Nolan Smith, obviously last year, you would have thought, you know what, getting drafted. And, you had Sean Desai's defensive coordinator. You had Matt Patricia took over later on. He had a little bit of an injury during the year. I get all of that. Missed some time in the offseason. I get all of that and had an injury, I think, in the year as well. He had some reps by the mid-tierish, endish towards the end of the year, kind of. Unfortunately, Sean Desai was asked the question, why aren't you, putting in Nolan Smith? Nolan Smith wasn't really getting a lot of reps last season. I put that on the coaching staff. This is a first-round pick. They just weren't playing him enough. So, at the end of the day, it was like, well, let's see what Nolan Smith could do in his second year with the Philadelphia Eagles. And it was a rough start in early training camp. It was a rough start for the offseason program because, we're only listening to what we hear from camp. And sometimes they don't mention Nolan Smith. So if they don't mention a specific player, he's not really doing much. I criticized Nolan Smith for an unblocked sack in a preseason game. I criticized Nolan Smith for when he was, when the running back kind of tipped him on the inside on a pass rush, helping the tackle out on a chip block, and kind of just pushed him into the quarterback pretty much. So I was pretty much saying to myself, I haven't really seen him fight somebody one-on-one and really get after the quarterback that much. Kind of fight for getting to the quarterback than just giving him this pretty much easy free sack. So I didn't really put too much into it. But like I said, it's not Nolan Smith's fault. It's like his rookie year was horrible because they really didn't do anything with him. So under Vic Fangio, and obviously since the bye week, this defense has been growing every week. Obviously, Cooper DeJean, coming into the defense, he missed the whole offseason program. So that was really the first step of making this defense so much better with Avonte Maddox being the liability that he was. Quinyon Mitchell playing really good since the first game of the season. And, your defensive line lost Fletcher Cox. There was a lot going on. We said, is this going to be a lackluster defensive line? But obviously, it's been a big growing process for this line, for this entire defense. And you know what? I felt like Nolan Smith from an athleticism standpoint, I think he's great. Okay. I figured before training camp this past offseason, they would have cross-trained him to outside linebacker or something like that in regards of just making him a pure edge rusher. But it seems like that's where they really want him right now. Okay. Some say he's undersized. Fangio has mentioned he's just very undersized and, needs to get in the weight room, needs to do a little bit more. And, we'll get better every single year. But I didn't expect this year. I really didn't. From him, I didn't expect the numbers to be there. Does it help having Jalen Carter? Does it help having Jalen Carter on the inside? Oh, 100%. But, having Nolan Smith make a play is because, Jalen Carter could be going in there and being disruptive. Quarterback goes out of the pocket. Quarterback moves back. Maybe goes back in the pocket. You know what I mean? So it's when it comes to DTs and defensive ends, it comes hand in hand with pressure. Just getting pressure, and it helps the next player next to you on that defensive line. So Nolan Smith has been really catching his stride a little bit. He's been getting better, and I've seen him do really well. I don't think you're going to have a double-digit sack season from him, but from what it looks like, he's catching on a little bit. And I'm wondering, and I think when Nolan Smith attacks a gap, he is just so much better. When he, straight up bull rushing on tackles, it just doesn't work. Okay. I think what he's tried to do, at least this past offseason, before the offseason program started, he was working with a few guys. He was working on his toolbox a little bit because he just needs to bring more to it. And because, if you don't have the size, then you really have to implement, your athleticism. Okay, you have to work just a little bit harder to become a better edge rusher. Obviously, as an edge rusher, what numbers matter? It's pressures, and obviously sacks are the most important. Okay, I don't like any of these defensive ends going in coverage as it is. I've seen Nolan Smith on Jamar Chase. I've seen Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham on Malik Neighbors. I've seen some really weird. Defensive ends on coverage to me just makes. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody really do it successfully at all. It's just something I think they should just wash out of the playbook. Because for me, unless you're gonna go back in coverage just for containment or something like that. I don't know, whatever you're doing there, but it just hasn't really worked that much. I don't think any of our ends are even meant to be in coverage as is right now. But your linebackers are playing better. Your secondary is fantastic right now. So your back end is really cleaning up, a lot of stuff. So Nolan Smith, like I said, I eat my own words. He's having a good year. And what do I expect him to do the rest of the year? Maybe he gets another 2, maybe another 3, 4 sacks potentially. That'd be great. Maybe 6.5, maybe 7.5 sacks. I think I'd be pretty good with. But you know what? This is really, in my opinion, this is Nolan Smith's rookie year, in my opinion. Yes, he had some play last year, but for me, it's just he didn't play enough beginning to almost the half mark of the season. They finally put him in for a lot of games when we were really on our downfall with bad coaching, bad everything. So I wasn't really expecting him to do much, but I blame the coaching staff for a lot. Because the player only has control of how many times he's in during a game. When Sean Desai was the defensive coordinator at the time, he didn't have much playing time at all. None. Was just a special teamer at one point and didn't really get any reps on the defensive line at all. So I blame the Eagles for a lot of that. So the Georgia boys are very productive this year. I was saying, Nolan Smith's going to be a bust. Jordan Davis is looking like a bust. But you know what? All of them have been solid. All of them have been great. And progressively, they've been doing better every single week. So, for my apology to Nolan Smith, it's there because I've been pretty shocked. I've covered my tracks on Reed Blankenship, and I didn't think he was much of a safety for us, but look what he's doing. So I eat my words on that, and now I eat my words really on Nolan Smith. So that's where I'm at with the whole situation with him, and good for him, man. I hope he does better. I just hope every year he's getting better. And Nolan Smith, there's something there. There's definitely something there, and with more playing time and more urgency, and when they put him in and they give him an opportunity, this is what happens, man. And Vic Fangio, he doesn't play favorites. He don't play favorites. Whoever deserves snaps will get their reps. And Nolan Smith is in deserving of more reps. He deserves more reps than Bryce Huff right now. Jalen Hunt deserves more reps than Bryce Huff right now. That's where I am with the situation on Nolan Smith. Damn, good thing I ate my words on that. So, on to the next segment. Now, okay, we're going to be going on to Saquon Barkley. And everybody's been really talking about now the season that he's had. It's been kind of crazy. Obviously, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley are neck and neck after Sunday's games. Derrick Henry is back in the lead, I think, in rushing as of right now. It's going to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, obviously, 197 carries for Saquon Barkley, 1,137 yards for the year, 8 touchdowns, 5.8 per rush, which is just, oh my God, it's amazing. It's just amazing what this guy could do. But going into that game last week was an interesting one against Washington because literally, I think there was obviously the one time in the game where he ran to the 1 yard line. And it was said on television, and I actually looked this up, is that 11 times Saquon Barkley has ran to the 1 yard line. 11 times. That's 11 touchdowns. That's 11 times to do the brotherly shove, okay, push tush, all of that stuff. It's absolutely insane. And I think because those touchdown numbers are not going to be there for Saquon, I think you'll be on the list of candidates for MVP. But obviously, they'd rather have a quarterback on the list there. They'd rather have a quarterback that's going to be more successful in that regard than a running back. That's just how the league works at this point, So I just have to accept that. I think we all have to accept that. But I mean, that's 11 touchdowns, man. I mean, that's crazy, dude. That's insane. Just how many, and I don't think, and Saquon, of course, he gets to the one. He's like, you know what? But I think he's excited just for the team to score anyway with Hurts's rushing touchdowns. I absolutely get it. Do I think they overuse the brotherly shove way too much? Sure, at times. If you're going to do the brotherly shove, make sure you get that push. When the Eagles don't get that push, it's up to the refs to decide what's happening. We've been robbed on a couple of these brotherly shoves, and we can't rely on the refs for any of that. Okay, we got robbed a couple weeks ago on one, and I don't want it to come down to that. And I think they've been better at it, but I just think it's overly used at times. It's so much easier to use Saquon Barkley. Use Saquon Barkley in a fullback. Put Ben Van Simmeren in there. Let him. You know what I mean? There's just so much they could do there. And I understand, I don't think Saquon's mad at this. I don't think he's ever expressed, he's never going to express that he's upset over it. I mean, look, he's grateful to be on a winning team right now. He is grateful to go from one team to the next. I mean, he's already going to break his ultimate rushing record for the year, okay, than with the New York Giants. He's already going to break that because realistically, I think he can have 17 to 1,900 yards. If he can hit over 2,000, great. But you're going to rest him at the end of the year, too. If Eagles get the first seed, don't get the first seed, whatever the case may be with it, he's going to get rest at the end of the year. You're hoping to get that first seed. You're hoping to God you do. But, you have a tough task in front of you a little bit. So it's going to be really interesting. MVP, like I said, a lot of Eagle fans have been talking about it. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately, because Saquon just doesn't have the touchdowns under his belt. The yardage, sure. The league just doesn't put too much if you're not scoring in the end zone. That's the unfortunate part because, you're 6-4 if Saquon Barkley's not on this team, and that's the truth. That is the truth of having a pure three down back that does everything well. And man, so glad they put money into this position. Very happy about it. Now, lastly, okay, now really our number one enemy in the NFC is the Detroit Lions. Okay, they're 9-1 right now. Okay, they smacked the crap out of Jacksonville with 50+ points. I can't believe Doug's not even fired yet. But if you look at everything else right now, the 49ers are 5-5. They lost today. Okay. So NFC, I think, is wide open. The Lions, they haven't faced us yet. I think this is potentially a big NFC championship matchup to get into the Super Bowl. And I think this is the team that we're really looking to get home field advantage over. But they're 9-1 right now. Obviously, the Eagles, they're one catch away from only having one loss. That Falcons game, not screwed too much up, but Detroit is on a roll right now. But I don't think they're world beaters. Okay, after even watching the last couple weeks ago when Jared Goff threw 4 or 5 picks, I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, did they get hot too early? We're gonna find out what Detroit looks like at the end of the year. If the Eagles can get Detroit at Lincoln Financial Field in the cold weather, okay, I think they'll have a big advantage going forward. As the first seed and hosting a playoff game, which is fantastic. So, a couple playoff games. So that's what you really want. Okay. AFC, I'm not going to take too much into it. Obviously, you have the Rams on Sunday night. You had the Ravens the Steelers beat the Ravens by 2 points, 18-16. And there was there was a play there was some miscommunication. They were in red zone, miscommunication by Lamar Jackson and some of his obviously some of his teammates kind of messed up that play. The Ravens have been they've been mostly up. Their offense is great. They've made some dumb mistakes, and their defense, I think, is not as great. It's very suspect at times. But I think the Eagles match up well with the Ravens. They play them in a couple weeks, but they are an AFC opponent, so will it count? I worry about the NFC opponents more than anything else because, you want to win these games. Obviously, that's going to be a big game. Philly and Baltimore is going to be a big one. But regarding the NFC, they're not an NFC team. So when it comes to tiebreakers and what you need at the end of the year, they're not the big focus. You want to win that game against Baltimore, no doubt. It just helps our case regardless going forward. But I think it's going to be really interesting the way this whole thing goes. So not really thinking about the Ravens right now because we still have a game this week before we face them. But it comes down to the NFC. Yeah, I think it's definitely wide open here. I think Detroit and Philly are definitely two teams that will meet up. It just depends. It really just depends. The seed and it really just depends where this is going to go, which direction it's going to go. I don't know, man. I don't want to think too ahead, but I kind of want to just go over just what happened on Sunday. And like I said, the NFC, there's really not much really to worry about in there. You had teams that looked hot during beginning of the season, the Vikings. You had teams that looked hot during the year. You had the Vikings. The Bears were supposed to be a big team going forward. That never happened. Just teams in general, not really necessarily NFC, but just teams in general that had a lot of overhype. The Eagles didn't look particularly that well beginning of the season either. That bye week hit and boom, the Eagles, look a lot different than, a lot of things changed with this team. So the Eagles have 6 straight wins. They got to keep this thing rolling as fast as possible. Keep their head down and go to work. And that's all that really matters, man, because you've had teams that get hot too early like the Vikings, and look what's going on now. They don't really look at the same. They got great weapons, but not really look the same. Bears were overhyped. Tampa Bay looked really good, and obviously losing Chris Godwin to a big injury, and you didn't have. I don't even know if they still have. I haven't really watched them recently, but I know they had Mike Evans. They lost him for a few weeks. Patrick Mahomes lost to the Bills. I thought that was great. Thank God Josh Allen got a win on Patrick Mahomes finally. Which is a great thing. Seeing Kansas City lose their first law, I think the whole league wanted to see that, honestly. So that's where everything has been right now. But Detroit has been in my main focus going forward of a potential big game in the future to go over all the Sunday games. And really regarding the NFC East, obviously Washington Commanders are behind us by a couple games, but they're on their bye week. They have an easy schedule going forward. Unless Atlanta, I know that the Saints aren't playing well, but they just upset Atlanta a week or two ago. So it's a week by week league. Obviously, any given Sunday, any given Monday night, Thursday night, doesn't matter what it is. They have the Titans. They still have some. They have to face us. They still have some very easy opponents. So Washington, I think, is going to be a nice breeze for them going forward. And the Cowboys play on Monday night, which I didn't even care. I didn't want to wait till Monday night to talk about this, but the Cowboys are done. So that game really doesn't matter to me of how it affects anything going forward, and the Giants are just, god awful. So don't really need to talk about them. It's really between Washington and the Philadelphia Eagles. We all know this. And that's where I'm at right now with these situations. So just got to take it week by week, get these wins week by week, and just, the Eagles win the next 2 weeks. I think it looks pretty promising. The next 2 weeks is really going to show us a lot. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think about Nolan Smith and his progress. And do you think he's going to get better? How do you feel about the situation with Nolan Smith? And obviously Saquon Barkley, MVP odds, and the NFC in general. You guys let me know in the comment section below. I want to hear your thoughts. Please, I love to read all of your comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video. Helps out the channel out tremendously. Thank you for all the support. And we'll be back with another one soon, okay? You guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure you check out OddsJam, my link in the description below, to help you on your betting needs. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes it up, follow, peace out, guys. Peace.